It's not Friday. Not even close.
No, we're here today on a status hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming and I'm recording to the Zoom cloud. If anybody needs a copy, just let us know and we'll make it available. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Rachel Peoples is my permanency specialist. We're present, ready.
Vince Nowak on behalf of the mother, April Wagner. We are both present. We're ready, Judge.
Stacy Isabella on behalf of Isabella.
All right, what do we have new since the court report was filed?
Isabella was put on two new medications. She was put on metformin and Abilify. She was put on those at the end of January. So those are new, but other than that, April went to go see her this past weekend. They had a good weekend. They went to the beach, and it has been reported that her behavior in school has gone a lot better and at the GRO. So we're proud of Isabella for that. But yeah, not much.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. She did have a brain view on, I believe it was last Friday, and April was able to go to that with Isabella and her caseworker down there. So.
Okay, was it a brain mapping?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that right, April? I'm pretty sure it was a brain mapping.
Have we gotten any kind of results or diagnosis or suggestions or anything from that yet?
They'll be in on Thursday, is what her caseworker said.
Okay. All right. Okay. And if we develop service plans, file those, parents signed?
Yes. April did sign hers yesterday.
And what about Mr. Johnson?
He has been sent his family plan, and I sent him the paperwork for an attorney. I haven't gotten anything back from him.
He was attempting to log in earlier, and then he just fell out. So if you could make contact with him after the hearing today, I would really appreciate that. Tell him I did see that he was trying to log in, but just, yeah, remind him about the attorney appointment paperwork and how important that is to get that to us.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And have we made any progress on services yet?
No, not yet. I just told her about them yesterday, so they have been set up though.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Nowak, anything to report today?
Nothing to report, but one question for Rachel, if I may.
Sure.
Thank you, Judge. Rachel, is April, she's giving you indications that she wants to work services, correct?
Yes, she has.
She's been cooperative thus far, correct?
She has been, yes.
Thank you so much. That's all, Judge.
Judge, I have one quick question for Ms. Wagner.
Mm-hmm.
If she could unmute, if you get to unmute to work.
Judge, I know this isn't the best plan, but April, can you hear us?
Yes.
Judge, can you hear it? And Daniel, can you all hear April?
Yeah.
I can, yes.
Okay, sorry about it. She's on speakerphone on my cell.
You're good.
No, that's fine. That works.
Ms. Wagner, at the last hearing, I believe you said there was prior orders between you and Mr. Johnson out of Denton County.
Yes.
Do you know a case number? We weren't able to find anything.
I emailed it to you.
Let's see. Do you know when you sent that to me?
Right after the last portion.
Okay. I don't remember seeing it. I'll look for it, and if I don't have it, I'll get in touch with Mr. Nowak on that again.
April, go ahead and email that to me when we get off the phone.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. All right, and Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, I got to Zoom with Isabella last week before her in-person meeting with mom, visit with mom. She was really excited that that was going to happen. She seemed really pretty good. She said it took her a little bit to get used to her new medication. She's still not quite sure about the sleep medicine because she says she has bad nightmares and falls off the bed, and so she's just going to be kind of watching that sleep med to see if it starts helping. But basically, she seemed pretty good and was very excited to see mom. She said something about hoping to get to talk at some point to grandma, Linda. And so I wanted to pass that along and see if that is something that would be helpful and available to her. And she loves math, which I thought was pretty cool.
Okay. All right. Let me just ask real quick, Ms. Peoples, because at the beginning of the case, we hadn't been able to locate Mr. Johnson. Where is he living? And I don't need an address, but just town.
I believe it is Allen, Texas.
Allen.
Mm-hmm. And April did tell me that she had been in contact with his daughter, right, April? And he did get those. He got the family plan and the documents. So.
Okay. All right, great.
And Ms. Peoples, if you could get an address for us so we can try to get him served.
Yes, I'll send that over to you.
Thank you.
All right, then for today, then I will make a finding that there would be a continuing and ongoing danger to return the child home today. That the department's using reasonable efforts to reunify. Ms. Wagner signed her service plan, so I'm gonna, and obviously one's been created for Mr. Johnson, but I will order that those service plans become an order of the court today. So Ms. Wagner, those services are important. Failure to work those services could mean the child doesn't come home, and worst case scenario, it can mean termination of parental rights. And I know that's not where any of us want to go. So just start working those as soon as you can. And then we will check in on everything again at our initial permanency hearing. That will be June 18th of 2024, and that'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. So until then, we'll continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I'll continue your replacement. And I wish you good luck over the next few months in your services. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Judge. April, send me that email and let's you and I talk this
We are here
afternoon.
today on an initial permanency hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom. We are live streaming, and I'm recording to the Zoom cloud today. If you need a copy, let me know and we'll make it available. Okay, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Christy Ashley is my permanency specialist. We're present ready.
Vince Nowak on behalf of Sophia Valdez. We're both present ready, Judge.
Joel Jackson on behalf of Juan Valenzuela. I'm present, and my client, I believe, is currently incarcerated in the Powder County Jail.
Stacy Isabella on behalf of the kids.
All right, what do we have new from St. Francis since the court report was filed?
St. Francis was able to locate a placement in Amarillo with the boys placed together. Boys are doing very well, adjusting to the new placement. They're both happy where they're at. ECI services were on break for 1 week due to the move, but picked back up this week. The boys are doing great. Sophia is doing well as well. She is about to move from level 2 to level 3, I believe today. And things are going very positively.
Okay, great. She's at Haven House, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, obviously having the boys here locally, that makes it a lot easier for mom to spend time with them. So what are we doing as far as visitation?
We started face-to-face visits on January 26th with mom. The boys were having to travel a great distance to come and do that. That's one of the reasons why we did put in for the placement referral. And visits are going very well. They're at 1 hour right now, but we're looking to implement a step-up program to increase visitation.
Okay. All right. I'm in favor of that. So the sooner we can kind of bump that up, I think the better. All right, so mom is obviously working on the biggest issue, which is sobriety, but she's obviously getting other things while she's at Haven, correct?
Yes, ma'am. She has submitted all negative drug screens for me since I took over the case in November. She has completed all of her like active services, like the counseling, parenting classes, those services. She has completed her outpatient classes as well with Synacor. She started Job Corps for women, and she goes 3 days a week for that. And that is a paid class that she's attending. So I spoke with her case manager at Haven, and they said that she is about to move to level 3. She has to be on level 3 for at least 60 days before she can move to level 4. When she moves to level 4, she'll get to move to the new house, to Ava. So she's able to pay her rent now on her own. She's got her phone turned on. She's making a lot of positive changes.
And once she can move to Ava House, then it is possible at some point then for the children to be there with her. Isn't that correct?
Yes, ma'am. The case manager said today that, of course, we're going to do the step up because we don't want to just all of a sudden put them there.
Right.
But we're going to start step up visitation with her, and then while she's still at Haven, she can do weekend overnights. Once she moves to Ava and we staff that, then it is possible for the kids to be placed with her there.
Okay. All right. That's the great part about that program, Ms. Valdez. So just keep doing what you're doing. Sounds like you're really, really doing great, and I'm very, very proud of you. So, all right, Mr. Novak, anything to report?
Judge, real quick, I'm sorry. It looks like we had done a paternity test on Juan as to Juan Jr. And that came back and was filed on January 11th, and it does not rule him out as the father. So, part of the paternity testing.
Okay. Okay, very good. What are we going to do as far as Mr. Rodriguez? He's just alleged, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have we located him yet?
We have not got him served. I don't know if Miss Ashley's been able to find him.
I have not been able to locate Mr. Rodriguez. We did it accurate. I tried to call the numbers, all the numbers listed. I will continue to make efforts, but we've been unable to locate him.
And I'm sure that everybody's asked Ms. Valdez if she has any locating information or any knowledge of where he is or anything.
Yes, I spoke with Ms. Valdez about it. She said that she hasn't spoken to him in approximately 6 years, I believe is what she told me. And she believes that he is homeless down in the Dallas area.
Okay. All right, Mr. Novak?
Thank you, Judge. It's always easy subbing for Brooks because it seems like he always has model clients. I just wanted to, and Christy stole all my thunder on how well Sophia's doing. And Christy and I talked yesterday about stepping up the visits, and that's in the works, correct, Christy? Good deal. The only other thing I would add is, since Sophia's here with her counselor, if Sophia or her counselor want anything to say, if that's appropriate, y'all need to, if the judge allows it, unmute. And I'm talking to the counselor right now. Tell us what you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Y'all want to unmute?
I'm actually not her counselor. I'm her case manager. But just echoing everything that Christy said, she is so, I would take 10 Sophia Valdez's in my program any day. She has done everything we've asked her to do. She goes above and beyond. She's one of our go-to people to do everything here at the shelter. She mentors the ladies as they come in. She has had zero issues following the rules. So I just can't say enough good things about her. We're going to support her every which way we can. And if there's anything that we're not doing that we need to be doing, we will gladly step up to do that for her, because she's just a role model resident for us.
Okay, thank you. That's wonderful to hear. And again, Ms. Valdez, you know, not only am I proud of you, but you need to be proud of yourself.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
done a great job. So I'm glad things are going so well.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
Just briefly, Miss Ashley, have you had an opportunity to talk with Juan Valenzuela?
Yes, I've been going to see him at Potter County.
Okay, and have you talked to him about his services?
I took him a service plan, a copy of it for himself, and I was able to get him to sign one for me.
Okay,
He's unable in Potter County to complete any services.
all right. I had taken the liberty, I don't think I was aware that he was incarcerated until just recently. And it looks to me like, if I'm reading this right, that he may have been incarcerated since October the 5th. Does that sound right to you?
It sounds right. The case was transferred to me in November, and he was already incarcerated at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
He said that he has not heard anything. He hasn't had any updates on where they're at with him.
Okay. All right. Well, I've got a call into his criminal attorney, and I'm just waiting on a call back so I can try to get the lay of the land on that and see. But that's all I had for you. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Isabella.
Your Honor, I got to go visit the boys in their new placement. I'm really glad they're here so that can facilitate more contact with Mom. Ezekiel's doing fabulous. My one big concern is with Juan. He's really behind, very far behind. Now we've got ECI set up for him. It was set up at the last placement. It's going to be starting next week with daycare. And I know that they've got some referrals, medical referrals for him. But I would like to really try to stay on top of that, and whatever extra therapies he can get. I'd like to include both foster parents and Mom in learning about things that would help him, so that Mom and our visits can possibly be working on some of those things with him. But I'd love for her to get any information on that, because it just feels like we need a good push for him. But it's a great placement, and I'm glad that it's going to allow Mom more access to the kids.
Let me just pose the question, how often is ECI working with him on a weekly basis?
I think it's just starting, and I think maybe it'll start this week, and it'll be on daycare. And I got the impression it was just going to be once a week, but I'm not sure. Christy may have more info on that.
He's been receiving an ECI specialist comes, as well as a physical therapist. So he's seen twice a week. Okay. There was that small lapse because of the placement change. The neurologist, after the MRI results, did say that with his age, it's hard to tell what type of progression he'll be able to make. He does have, can I release medical information that was found in the MRI?
You can. I can stop the live stream. I'd prefer that.
I'd make that motion, Judge, if we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Great.
No objection.
Okay. All right. To protect confidentiality of health information, I'm going to go ahead and stop the live stream. We're here today, and I will restart it. Portal services. We are conducting this through Zoom, and we are live streaming. I'm recording to the Zoom cloud. So if anybody needs a copy, just let me know, and we'll make it available. All right.
John, if I may, I did inform Mr. Alvey and Ms. Isabella that I have visited pretty extensively with my client, and she is agreeable to the request for orders today.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me go ahead and get everybody's announcements, and then we can get into that a little bit more.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Todd Alvey on behalf of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, present, ready to proceed, Your Honor.
William Taylor, appointed to represent Erica Martinez, also present and ready. And she is also present.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the kids.
All right, thank y'all. Okay, so Mr. Taylor, she's agreeing to work the requested services. I'd like to just have Mr. Alfie go over exactly what we're talking about, because I may have a question based on the affidavit that was presented, but Mr.
Sure.
Alfie, if you want to go ahead and cover what we're talking about here.
Thank you, Your Honor. We would have an FBS worker do an assessment on Ms. Martinez and determine specifically what services she would need to complete. But generally, we're going to ask that she maintain housing, she do individual counseling, she do some parenting classes, and that she communicate with the FBS worker in an honest and forthright manner. And that's a generalization. There may be some more specifics at a later date after our FBS worker has done an assessment.
Okay, so the one thing that really comes to my mind is, will we not be wanting to include in this a sex use awareness class?
We would, Your Honor.
Okay, all right,
Due to the nature of the facts in this particular case.
right. So essentially, access to the home, stable housing, counseling, parenting, abuse awareness class, maintaining contact. Ms. Martinez, do you work?
I'm at work right now.
Okay. And do you have transportation?
I do.
Okay. So it'll be important that you maintain those things. So just, keep on with that. All right, Mr. Taylor, anything else to add to that?
I will explain the role of the ad litem to her so that she understands that Ms. Zavala will be needing to come out and visit with her and the children. I'll be sure and explain that to her so she understands it.
Okay. And that it could be Ms. Zavala's assistant that may be the one that actually calls to make an appointment. And her name is Kelly. So don't be confused by that, because I think that gets lost in translation sometimes. Okay. All right. And Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, I do think this agreement is in the kids' best interest, and I look forward to meeting Ms. Martinez and working with them.
Okay, so Ms. Martinez, I appreciate your cooperation in this, and I hope that we will be able to provide you some very useful, assistance and information so that you don't find yourself in this unfortunate situation again. I will grant the request and order the services as we've discussed today. There may be some other things that after they've met with you and talked with you that they feel like, something additional that could help you. But I will certainly give you all the opportunity to sit down and meet and talk about all those things. We will have a compliance hearing May 14th of 2024. That'll be on a 9:00 docket. That'll be just like this. It'll be by Zoom. So if you're at work and you can log in, that's great. And that's just to sort of review where we're at in the case and what you've gotten done and how the kids are doing. So it's just kind of a, bring me up to speed on where we are with things. All right. Anybody have any questions? Okay, then I will sign the order when it's presented, and I'll see you back in May. So hope everything will go real well for the next few months.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, I think that was the only case I had on your docket, so may I be excused?
Yes, sir. We had those 2 dismissals today, so have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Judge.
Same for Miss Canada. Y'all have a good day.
And Erica, it's easier. We've discovered it's easier for you to call me than for me to call you. So if you'd call me, I'd appreciate it.
Right now or a little later?
At your convenience today.
Okay, will do, sir.
Thank you.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Good luck, Ms. Martinez. Thank you. Each case set
Yep,
for our
bye-bye.
final. We're conducting this through Zoom. We are live streaming. Ms. Taylor is making our record. All right. So we'll go ahead and take everybody's announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services and present ready on.
Jay Michelson on behalf of the respondent mother, Crystal Rodriguez. She is not present, but I'm here.
Jerry Morales on behalf of respondent father Randall Candelaria. He is still incarcerated in New Mexico. I'm ready.
William Taylor for Saul Vallejo, father of Diamond. I'm present and ready. Saul Vallejo is not. I do not expect him.
Vince Nowak on behalf of Jorge Bolanos, a non-offending parent who's currently incarcerated. I'm here, Judge, and I'm ready.
Stacy Isabella on behalf of Diamond, Natalie, and Randall.
All right. I'm going to give Mr. Novak a chance to try to reach out and find out why his guy is not connected.
Judge Baker.
Yes.
While we're waiting, can you put myself and Javier Rodriguez in a breakout room real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Logging in. If they're not, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute myself, call them again, and tell them that it's 11:48 on an 11 o'clock hearing. They had the order. You signed the order Friday around noon, and they had that order Friday at 2 o'clock. So let me get them back on the phone, say what I need to say, and I'll be back and report to you within 2 minutes, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Not your fault. I understand.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Bolanos.
He's here. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. I called him, didn't I?
Yes.
And everybody announced.
Yep.
Okay. We got everybody's announcements. All right. Mr. Trout, who's your first witness?
Joel Rodriguez, Your Honor. And are you familiar with the cases we were talking about today?
Yes, I am.
And how are you familiar with those 3 cases?
I was called on last year on February 13th to investigate the situation they were in.
And what situation was that?
They had been pretty much abandoned at the mom's mobile home with a couple of people that were not very well known to the children and not being attended to properly.
Okay. And how old were the children?
At the time, Diamond was 9, Natalie was 8, and Randall was close to a year.
Okay. And you said that they had been left at the mother's mobile home by the mother?
Yes.
And what's the mother's name?
Crystal Rodriguez.
Okay. And do you know when they had been left?
It looked like from gathering information and talking to different people, it looked like January the 16th at night or Tuesday morning the 17th. 17th.
And by the time you got the case, where were the children?
They
All
had
right.
been,
Mr. Bolanos, because you've got some background noise, I'm going to just put you on mute.
Yes, ma'am.
For now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
Mr. Rodriguez, go ahead.
yes. Could you repeat the question? Sorry, got distracted here.
I was asking, do you know how long, oh, excuse me, I'd asked where the children were by the time you got the case.
Okay. By the time I had, I went out, the uncle had picked them up, and I did see them at school. They were attending school,
Okay.
and they were doing good at the uncle's house, Daniel Sandoval.
Okay. Were you able to speak to the children?
Oh, yes, I was. I was able to get a good interview February 13th.
Okay. And what did the children tell you as far as the incident?
They were pretty both of the girls, verbal children, were pretty consistent that there was a lot of fighting between Crystal Rodriguez, the mother, and her boyfriend, Randall Candelaria, that there was a lot of what they were able to describe at their level, very likely to be drug use and drinking in the home.
Okay. Did they know the people that they had been left with?
They didn't know very well. No, I think they were they barely knew their names. I think Diamond was the only one that knew their names, and Natalie didn't even know the name, but it was a couple. And then talking to mom later, all she was able to say was it was a friend, Ray, and a friend of hers, Alize, but I don't think she even knew their last names.
How were they being fed?
Not very well. They would just basically the girls would try to get whatever was left for them. So, for example, they said one of them told me that there was the couple had made some hamburger helper, and they would after that couple would eat, they would go and kind of heat up whatever was left.
Okay. You had made a statement earlier that they mentioned they weren't being watched very properly. Was the couple actively watching them and taking care of them, or where were they staying?
No, both girls reported that the couple was in their bedroom with the door closed.
Objection, Judge. Both girls reported as hearsay.
In your honor, hearsay exception on this as far as the children abuse or neglect and the children being left with a couple that is not watching them at their young age. He reported they are ages 8 and 9 or around that age at the time. I would say this fits the hearsay exception as far as what the children said went on.
Okay, I'm going to overrule the objection, and I'm going to classify them as sort of outcry statements.
Can I make it clear that the witness is not testifying about Jorge Rodriguez? In other words,
Sure,
Mr. Joel, Jorge was not the offending parent, correct?
That's correct at the time, right?
Thank you so much, Judge, and thank you so much, Joel.
Yeah. Mr. Rodriguez, since we've got 3 different fathers in these cases, let's be real careful about naming who we're talking about.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. And when I get to the questions as far as the fathers, I will verify who we were talking about at that time. And at this time, this is specifically, Mr. Rodriguez, we're speaking about the mother, not the fathers at this time, correct?
Oh, that's correct.
So we didn't remove at that time due to uncle and grandfather having the children, correct?
Oh, that's correct.
When were you able to finally speak to the mother?
I don't remember the exact date, but it was at the time when she tried to pick up the children, or had picked up the children.
Okay.
So it was on February 28th was when I was finally able to meet with Crystal Rodriguez.
Okay. And that's about 2 weeks after you received your initial report?
No, that's correct.
Okay. Where had mother been?
I had been working with, she had been in New Mexico, I believe Albuquerque, New Mexico. Amarillo Police Department Sergeant Hill had a missing person filed on her, and in collaborating with him and sharing information with him, we both kind of determined it was, she had been in Albuquerque.
Okay. And you said she showed back up and picked up the kids, or one of the kids?
Yes. By the time I went to meet with her, she already had the 1-year-old Randall Jr. with her.
Okay. And where was she?
She was at her mobile home with her son.
Okay, so she had picked her son up from her father's home and taken it back to her home?
Yes, that's correct.
Did you discuss drug use with the mother?
So we were able to get her to come back to the office and bring Randall with her when I transported her back. And so once I got to the office and we were securing Randall's safety, we talked to her about drugs, and she did admit to methamphetamine use and fentanyl use.
Okay. How often did she say she'd been using?
I don't recall exactly, but she did say that she had relapsed and she was needing help.
Okay. Did she mention being in jail, or when the last time she used was?
Yes, she had mentioned she had been in jail. down in New Mexico.
Did she tell you what she'd been in jail for?
I don't recall exactly. Sorry.
Okay. Did she state her plans for later on?
Yes, after we met with her, she did say that she wanted to go to inpatient treatment, and she had been through inpatient treatment before, and that she was willing to get assessment and treatment. And then she was going to have the children stay with her father and her brother.
Where? Okay, so as far as the fathers, did she tell you where and who the father to Natalie?
Yes, so for Natalie, she said it was a Jorge Bolanos.
Okay, and did she tell you where he was at the time?
Yeah, she told me, I believe, that he was incarcerated.
And you know where he was incarcerated?
Yes, I don't recall exactly, but I did. I was able to reach out to him.
Okay. Do you know? Did he tell you how long he had been incarcerated or where he was?
No, he had been there for quite a bit, but you know, he was saying he did offer me his sister and his mom that could possibly watch the kids. That's one of the primary questions that we ask. So he was helpful in that regard.
Okay, and did you look into those people?
Yes.
Did you find out who the father to Diamond?
Yes, he told me it was Saul Vallejo, and we did locate him out in Stratford area. So I talked to him also, and he admitted he was the father, although he was still questioning paternity.
Okay. And did tell you who the possible father to Randall?
Yeah, she kind of gave me a couple of different versions, but I was understanding that it was Randall Candelaria Jr. I mean Randall Candelaria first, and then later on, she had mentioned Cecil Dale Ellis, who's deceased.
Okay. And do you know where Randall Candelaria was?
Yes, he was in the county jail down in New Mexico, Clovis, I believe.
Okay. Were you able to get in touch with him before removal?
No, because again, at that point when we filed our paperwork, we were under the impression the father was Cecil Dale Ellis, so we stopped trying to get a hold of him.
And do you believe once the children were removed, where were they placed?
At the time of removal, they did get to remain with the paternal uncle and the paternal grandfather.
Okay.
So that seemed to be a good home at the time.
Okay. And do you believe that due to mom's admitted drug use, two potential fathers incarcerated and one questioning paternity, but up in Stratford, the removal was in the best interest of the children?
Oh, yes, I do.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor. Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I got a couple more questions. I apologize. Mr. Rodriguez, did mother agree to a drug screen?
Oh, yes, she did.
And did she go drug screen for you?
Yes, she did. She did drug screen for us.
And did those come back while you were still investigating, working the case?
Yes, she tested on the hair strand, positive for methamphetamine, and then we did a different kind of test just for fentanyl, and she tested positive for fentanyl as well.
Okay. In Your Honor, I would ask at this time to admit exhibits B3 into the Bolanos case, exhibit R11 into the Rodriguez case, and exhibit C15 into the Candelaria case, which are the affidavit of business records that were filed at least 14 days prior to the hearing and served to each attorney in the cases.
No objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mhm.
And no further questions from Mr. Rodriguez at this time.
All right, Mr. Michelson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Rodriguez, did you have the opportunity to actually see the source of the complaint, the trailer and the people at the time the complaint was made?
Yes, it was not exactly on the February the 14th, but when the mother came back on around the 28th, I believe, it was in disarray, and there was very little food there. It was not suitable for the children to be there.
Did you see the couple the children complained about?
No, I couldn't locate them after, they had left. At least a couple weeks before that, or a week and a half before the mom finally came back from New Mexico.
That's
sorry.
All right, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, Mr. Vallejo had no involvement with the reason for the pickup, or the investigation, is that correct?
Oh, that's correct.
And at the time that you contacted him, I believe you said he was living in Stratford?
Yes.
I believe he indicated he was living with friends and was not in a position to try to attempt to take the child. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, that's what he told me.
Did he express an interest in attempting to get in a position to take the child eventually?
He was kind of in the middle. He said he definitely, I showed him a picture. He asked for a picture, and I showed him a picture of her, and he was not, from my experience, again, just my impression, he didn't seem to be convinced that he was the father, but he did say that he was going to try to get back Diamond back.
At least during your involvement with the case, did he actually follow up on any kind of efforts to establish or question paternity?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Did you have any further contact with him?
No, I don't remember anything else after.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'll pass witness.
All right, Mr. Morales.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Noah.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Rodriguez, just a few questions. So Jorge is the parent to Natalie, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Did Jorge do anything that necessitated the removal of the child?
I guess by default, by not providing for his child or not being around his child, he didn't help the situation.
That wasn't my question, sir. My question was, let me make it really, really clear. Is Jorge Gonzalez the non-offending parent in the case of Natalie?
Oh, yes, he's one of the non-offending parents.
In other words, he didn't do anything that necessitated the removal, correct?
That's correct.
Pass the witness, Judge. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Bowen.
Mr. Rodriguez, you talked about meeting with the two girls at Mesa Verde Elementary and speaking with them. Was it only the two girls that were left with this kind of unidentified couple, or was Randall there too?
Oh, Randall was there too.
What did the girls say about who was taking care of Randall?
Pretty much they were kind of they were very close to him, very bonded to him. So when they would look through the bags, for example, like they mentioned looking through a bag of grocery or things they were bringing, and they had got him some candy and different things.
So they reported feeding their 1-year-old brother candy that they found?
Different things, yes. Spaghetti, and then also some hamburger helper.
And at that time, Diamond was 9. Is that correct?
Yes, Natalie was 8, and then Randall was 1.
So they reported being the primary caretaker for a 1-year-old, feeding him candy and spaghetti.
Oh, yes.
I pass witness.
All right, Mr. Trout, anything further of this witness?
Mr. Rodriguez, as far as non-offending parents go, parents that are in jail are not able to take care of their children. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so non-offending as far as didn't do anything specifically to the children, but they are not able to care and shelter the children.
Oh, that's correct.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
All right, anybody have any further questions for Mr. Rodriguez?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Any objection to this witness being released?
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
All right, then, Mr. Rodriguez, you're free to leave us at this time. Thank you for your time today and have a good rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Joe. Your Honor, I would call Jorge Bolanos real quick. And you are currently incarcerated, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And where are you incarcerated?
I'm incarcerated in La Mesa, Texas.
Okay. And Your Honor, I would ask to go ahead and admit exhibits B, 4, 5, and 6. They are certified copies of the indictments and judgments for which Mr. Bolanos is in jail for.
No objection, Judge.
No objection.
Objection?
No objection.
No objection.
All right, 4, 5, and 6.
Yes, ma'am. B, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay. Petitioner's exhibits B4, B5, and B6 will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Bolanos, how long are you incarcerated for?
I have a 17-year sentence, non-aggravated. I've done close to 8 years.
Okay.
And excuse me.
Sorry. And so you were sentenced in 2016?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So July this year will be 8 years. Is that correct? Sound about right?
October.
Okay. So your sentence is supposed to run through 2033, your maximum sentence?
That's my max.
Okay.
That's just max.
Did you just have a parole hearing?
I just had I had a parole hearing and I had a mandatory supervised meeting where my parole was denied due to the fact that I still need a little bit more rehabilitation.
Yeah.
And also my halfway mark was denied because I still need a little bit more of classes that I need to take to better myself. Like, you know, they want a little bit more classes for me to take to make me just to make it right for me to be out in society, you know. So I won't be a danger to society, so they won't look at it as a danger to society.
Do you know when you will have another parole hearing? You know?
Yes, sir. I will have it in January of next year.
Of 25?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And you heard testimony a while ago, this removal happened in February of 23. Is that your understanding?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So January of 25 will be longer than 2 years from January of 23. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Or since the removal.
Don't trail off, Mr. Trapp.
Sorry, Your Honor. What are you in jail for right now? What are your charges?
I am in jail for I walked away from I was in the county jail and I walked away from a work detail, which I was assigned to by the sheriff, and it was automatically escape because I walked away.
Okay. All right.
I went home and came back, and
Yes.
I got charged with escape.
Do you know, have you been advised of service plans?
I believe so.
Okay. And do you know what service plans are?
I have a little bit of understanding, not too much of an understanding about it, but I have an idea.
Okay. Did you have a relationship with Natalie prior to going in jail?
Oh, of course, sir. Yes, I did.
When was the last time you saw her?
The last time I saw her was Crystal brought them in 2017, which I was still led to believe we were still together. And she was bringing them to visit me faithfully every other 3 months, 4 months. So
Okay.
yes, I had a relationship with Diamond and Natalie.
Okay. But you think 2017 was probably the last time you've seen her?
The last time was in April 2017 was the last time her father and the children came and visit me because I've been doing so good. I had got a day with dads that day, and I was able to have my children with us. Like inmates can have their kids and their family members that day.
Okay. All right. I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Michelson,
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Taylor,
No questions.
Mr. Morales,
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Noah.
Just briefly, Jorge, were you in prison when Natalie was removed?
Yes, sir.
That's all I got, Judge. Thank you so much.
All right, Mr. Trupp? Yeah, or let me ask, does anybody else have any further questions for Mr. Bolanos?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Oh,
Oh,
Ms.
yeah.
Isabella. We skipped Ms. Isabella. My
You
apologies.
did. You did. So Mr. Bolanos, when you went into prison, Natalie was 2?
Yes, ma'am.
And by the next time that your parole can be even evaluated, she'll be 11?
I believe so. Yes, ma'am.
And even if parole is granted at that time, it would take some time before you could get out?
There's a big possibility that I can. And before or after, yes. There can be a possibility that I can be released before that.
After that parole decision in January of 2025.
Oh yes, I should be going home.
Okay. And at that point, she wouldn't have lived with you for 9 years, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that Natalie is placed with her brother and her sister in a relative's home?
I'm aware that she's through paperwork that she is with her brother, her half brother Javier Rodriguez. I am aware of that, but I was never told about her sister. But I was aware that she was with Javier.
Okay. Do you think it would be important for her to have stability?
Oh yes, definitely.
Do you think it would be important for her to be with Diamond and her younger brother?
I strongly believe that they shouldn't be separated for the fact that they're siblings. And yes, I'm pretty sure that anybody would prefer for them to be together than be separated into a foster home. Yes.
And you realize they're not in a foster home, they're in an aunt and uncle's home.
Yes.
Okay. And are you aware that aunt and uncle are willing to adopt?
I am aware. I am aware. I do have some questions though about that, concerning that some of this wasn't explained to me. That was explained to me after the fact that they were taken from the home, and everything was explained to me after the fact that they were already with Javier, but nobody explained to me or even bothered to ask me, do you have somewhere for them to go as being a father? Do you have anybody stable to step up to the plate for your behalf to take care of them, since Natalie is your child? I was never given that option.
Are you aware that at one point all the kids were placed, I believe, with your ex-wife and your other daughter?
Yes, ma'am. And I just I was never told why or how they ended up with Javier after that. I had talked to the mother of my child, and they're willing to take care of them and raise them as theirs with the rest of my other kids until I get out, and I was able to provide for them and help and be with them and help them. I'm like I said, Diamond, even though she's not my biological daughter, I was willing to raise her as my daughter and take her as my daughter. Even the little one that is not mine, I was willing to take all 3 kids.
Okay. But your maximum release date is 2033, correct?
Yes, that is my max.
Okay. I pass witness.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Mr. Bolanos right now?
No, Your Honor.
One quick question, Your Honor. Mr. Bolanos, you said that as far as your denial on your parole right now, it was because you weren't rehabilitated enough to be out.
Yes, that's the reason. That's why that's how the systems feel. That's how the system feels, that if you're not prepared, or if you're not ready, they don't feel that you're ready. It's not more than likely they're not going to guarantee you your parole.
Okay.
They want to be able to know that you're going to be okay to be able to step out these gates.
Okay. All right. Have you been charged with anything else since you've been in, or is that the escape that you were talking about?
It's just that, sir.
Okay. All right. So it's just the escape.
Yes.
You don't have any new charges pending or anything?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody have any other questions for Mr. Bolanos?
No questions.
No questions.
No more at this time.
No questions.
Okay. All right, Mr. Trout, you can call your next witness.
Yes, ma'am. We call Michelle Slaver. And how are you familiar with those cases?
I've been their caseworker since April 1st.
When you first receive a case, what is your first steps? What do you do?
You, of course, see the children, find placement for the children, and then you meet with the parents and you make service plans with the parents.
Okay. And what are service plans?
Service plans are the services that we would require for the parent to be able to get their children back. It helps mitigate the reason for removal.
Okay. And were service plans done in this case?
Yes, sir, they were.
In each of these three cases, sorry.
Yes.
We'll talk about the mother first.
Okay.
Were you able to meet with her and go over service plans?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did mother sign service plans?
Yes, she has.
Okay. And did you generate service plans for each respective father in the case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were those service plans, they're gone over with the parents? If you're able to?
Yes, if able to.
And are they filed with the court?
Yes.
And are they made orders of the court?
Yes.
Was that done in this case?
Yes.
Did you receive copies of the exhibits I sent?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Exhibit marked B1 and B2. Can you tell me what those are?
B1 is the service plan for Crystal, and B2 is a service plan for Mr. Bolanos.
And are these accurate copies? They're file marked copies of what was filed with the court?
Yes, sir.
And have you reviewed them?
Yes, sir.
And are they accurate depictions of what you filed?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, and excuse me, and is B1, was it signed by the mother?
Yes, it was.
Your Honor, I would ask to admit exhibits B1 and B2. They are the service plans for the parents in the Bolanos case.
No objection.
No objection?
No, yes.
And Your Honor, I'm going to go through each case individually right now to get these things done, and then I'll finish on up. Ms. Slagle, did you review exhibits R8, R9, and R10?
Yes, I have.
And what are those exhibits? We'll start with mother on this. When's the last time you talked to the mother?
Last time I talked to mother was in the beginning of January.
Okay. These service plans, what were things that mother was required to do?
She was required to have stable housing and stable employment. She was to comply with the service plan, random drug screening, domestic violence support group, rational behavior therapy, a psychosocial evaluation, individual counseling, parenting, and then she was to complete an OZAR and follow the recommendations, which she did complete the OZAR, and it recommended medical detox and intense inpatient rehab. Okay.
Outside of the OSAR that you just stated she did, has mother done any other services?
No, sir.
Has she done any of her counseling?
No, sir.
Psychosocials?
No.
Parenting classes?
No, sir.
Has she set any of these things up?
No. She said she's called and left messages and nobody will call her back. There's always a reason why she hasn't started these services.
Okay. But St. Francis has got them referred and set up, and she needed to set up her appointments.
Yes.
And is that the way it generally works? They get copies of the service plans, parents do, and y'all set up referrals?
Yes.
And you advise parents that they are required to call and set up?
Yes. Yes.
Do you know where mother is right now?
The last I knew of was she was in New Mexico, in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Do you know where she's living in Albuquerque?
The last I heard was she was living in a tent in Albuquerque.
Okay. And you say last you heard, is that from mother that you heard that?
Yes, that's from mother. Yes.
Okay. So, and when did you get that information?
That's been pretty much the information since around August of 23.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I think you answered this question a while ago. When was the last time you heard from her?
In January.
In January. Okay. Did she tell you she was planning on doing any services?
Yes, she actually told me that she had did her medical detox, in which she's been telling me that for a couple months. And I've been asking if she could send that to me or let me know who I need to do a release of information through so that we can get that information. And I've not received anything.
Okay. When was mother's last visit with the children?
Mom's last visit was the second week of January. She had no visits in December. Asked the first week of January if we could put her back on the schedule. So we did put her back on the schedule with she needed a call to confirm 30 minutes ahead of time. She made that first visit after that, the second week of January, and then she has not made any visits since then.
Okay.
Ms. Slagle, are you referring to January of 2024?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, January of 2024.
All right, thank you.
But you said she did attend that visit?
Yes, she did attend a 30-minute visit. That day she cut the visit short, but she did attend for 30 minutes.
And her visits are an hour?
Yes, an hour.
Are these are virtual?
Yes, sir. They are virtual.
Okay. How they're 1 hour, how often are they supposed to be set up?
Once a week.
Once a week. Okay. So in the last month and a half, 6 weeks, she's attended one?
Yes.
And before that, before the January was when?
The end of November.
End of November. So how many did she attend in November?
Let me look. I'm so sorry. I believe she did attend 3 of them in okay. October she made 3 visits. Let me find the November one. In November, she did make 3 visits in November also and missed 1.
Okay. So her visits have kind of been sporadic.
Yeah.
But she has made some.
Yes.
How are mom's drug screens going?
She has not drug screened since October. Since she is in New Mexico, we need to have a facility that she can drug screen at and a zip code of where she is to be able to put in the referrals for those. When I have visited with her, I've asked her to please let me know like her location where we can find somewhere close to her, and she has not provided that information with me.
Okay. But have you been letting her know she needs to go monthly?
Yes.
When those are?
Yes.
Okay. And has she no-showed those?
Yes.
And are those deemed presumed positives?
Yes.
Has mom admitted to you throughout this case whether she is or is not still using?
Yes, she has said that up until she says she went to medical detox in December. She said she was in the hospital the whole month of December, and that she did a medical detox and they put her on Suboxone for rehabilitation, but we have not had proof of that.
So either by the hospital or by mom, you have no confirmation of that?
No.
Do you believe at this time that mother is capable of taking care of the children and providing adequate and necessities and shelter for the children?
No, sir.
Has there been any other services or programs that mom has tried to work that she has been able to verify with you?
No, sir.
Just the OSAR?
Just the OSAR.
Okay. Did you ever discuss any of the reason for the removal and the people mom had left the children with? Have you discussed any of that with the mother?
I'm at the very beginning of the case.
Okay. What did mother tell you about that?
She stated that the children were very familiar with who she left them with and that she would never abandon her children, and that they weren't with them but a few days is what the information she told me.
And you heard from testimony earlier that she left sometime in January and didn't return until sometime in February.
Yes.
And is that kind of the same information mom gave?
No, that is not the same information mom gave.
Okay. As to, we'll swap over to the dads. Now, Mr. Bolanos is incarcerated.
That's correct.
You sent copies of service plans to him.
That's correct.
Is he able to work any sort of service plans while he's in prison?
From the information from me calling the prison to see how that would work for him, he would need to fill out, I believe they said it's an I-60, and turn that in with what services he needs to work, and they would let him know if he was approved to work those services.
Okay. And have you heard back on any of that?
No, sir, I've not.
How long ago was that?
That was last week when I was able to get that information.
Hey, can you get in touch with Mr. Bolanos easily?
No, when we've tried, we have got a courtesy worker to go out there, and they're not able to go see him. From the information we got, it's attorney only that can have access to him.
And you heard him, Mr. Bolanos testify a while ago. He hasn't seen his daughter since 2017.
Yes, sir.
And the children have been in care now for right at a year, just shy of a year.
Yes, that is correct.
And do you believe that at this time he is able to provide care and shelter for the children? Or for
No,
his,
sir.
I'm sorry.
No, sir.
As to Mr. Vallejo, when's your last contact with him?
I have not had any contact with him, sir.
Okay. You've never once been able to contact him throughout this case?
No, sir.
Did you send copies of the family plans and orders to his address?
Yes, we did, and we went to the address we had, and we've called the phone number with no replies or no returns to him or from him.
Have you run searches to try to find if there's any new addresses or numbers?
Yes, sir, and it's the same information that we have.
And how often do you attempt to contact him or find him?
We contact monthly with what information we have. The last search that I ran was in November.
And so every month throughout this case, so we'll call it 11 months because we're shy of 12, but 11 months, you have not been able to have any contact with him?
That is correct.
Has he worked any services?
Not to my acknowledgement, he has not.
Has, to your knowledge, has he attempted to work in?
Not that I know of, sir.
Has he had any visitations with Diamond?
No, sir.
Has he called and reached out to you to have any visitations with Diamond?
No, sir.
And again, as in with the Bolanos child, Diamond has been in care for over 6 months.
That is correct.
Do you have any proof or reason to believe that Sophia can provide adequate shelter and needs of the children at this time?
No, sir.
And have you given him the required or reasonable efforts to try to reunite with his child?
Yes.
And that's done through the service plans which were admitted in earlier.
Yes.
But due to not having any contact with him, you cannot work with him because he will not contact us back.
That is correct.
As to Mr. Candelaria, he was incarcerated when this first started.
That is correct.
And he is in New Mexico.
That is correct.
When was the last time you had any contact with him?
The last time I had contact with him was in August of 23.
Okay. And is there, I believe you told me something about the way their jail system's working right now. Are you able to get in touch with him right now?
No, sir.
And do you know why that is?
No, I've sent mail to him that's been returned. Their mail system all goes to one address and then it disperses out. I'm not for sure why his mail was returned to me. But when I did visit with him in August, we did go over his service plan at that time.
Okay. Have you gotten any information back that he's worked on any services or tried to?
No, he has not tried to contact me since August.
Okay. And we did a paternity testing on him, correct? Because there were 2 possible fathers named in this case.
That's correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I would ask to admit Exhibit C 16, which is the DNA paternity test report that was a certified copy that was filed with the court stating that he is not excluded as a father. Do you know, have you talked to him about his criminal record?
Yes, we did visit about what he was in prison for at this time.
Okay, and do you know what that is? Can you tell us what that is?
For driving a stolen vehicle and theft.
Your Honor, I'd also, well, excuse me. Can you tell me, Ms. Slagle, what Exhibit Mark C-17 is?
It is the offender website for the New Mexico Correctional Center, and this is his profile.
Okay, and do you check up on him by going to this website?
Yes, sir.
And is the information in this exhibit, is it the same information that you see when you go to the website?
Yes, sir, it is.
And at the bottom of the page on this, is it marked with the website address, and then is it a government website?
Yes, sir, it is.
Your Honor, I'd ask to admit Exhibit C-17, which is the offender search and states where Mr. Candelaria is and what for.
No objection.
No
No
objection.
objection.
No objection.
All right, petitioner's exhibit C-17 will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Ms. Lago, would you tell me what Exhibit C-18 is?
I believe this is his charges and his sentencing.
And did you review these?
Yes, I have, sir.
And do they match up with the charges that he told you he has
Yes, they do.
and that you have discussed with him?
Yes.
And do they also match up with what is on the offender website for New Mexico?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would ask to admit Exhibit C-18, their file marked copies of his charging informations and judgments for Mr. Candelaria.
No objection.
Ms. Lago, can you look at the fourth page of C-18? Second heading says sentence summary.
Yes, sir.
Can you read to me what that says?
It says total period of incarceration, 3 years minus 3 days in the New Mexico Department of Corrections. Defendant is entitled to receive pre-sentence confinement credit. Post-sentence credit shall be awarded from June 21st of 2023 until received by the New Mexico Department of Corrections.
Okay. And just above that, it says sentence. Just above
Yes.
that. What, can you read to me what that says?
It says the defendant is hereby sentenced to a period of 364 days to be served at New Mexico Department of Corrections. Sentence is to run consecutive to counts 2. Defendant is ordered to pay fines of $55.
Okay. And can you go back to page 3 for me?
Yes.
Okay. About midway of the page, under the count 1, it says sentence. What does that say?
It says the defendant is hereby sentenced to a period of 364 days to be served at New Mexico Department of Corrections. Defendant is ordered to pay $55.
Okay. And the next sentence under count 2?
See, the defendant is hereby sentenced to a period of 364 days to be served at New Mexico Department of Corrections. Sentence is to run consecutive to counts 1. Defendant is ordered to pay $55.
Thank you, ma'am. And then the next to last page of this exhibit.
Okay.
And what does, sorry, give me 1 second. Toward the bottom of the page, right above fines and fees, it says sentence specifics. What does that say?
It says sentence to run consecutive to the sentence in D905-CR-2023-00074.
Okay. So looking at that, it says that the sentences are to be run consecutive, not concurrent. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So he got a year sentence on each one of these charges?
That is correct.
All to run consecutive?
Yes.
Okay. And the sentence summary on the first one states that his sentence is 3 years?
Yes.
And that sentence, he was incarcerated when this started?
That is correct.
And according to those sentences, his maximum is 4 years?
Yes.
Has he had any visitations with the children?
No, he has not.
He was in, Mr. Candelaria was in New Mexico with mom when this case originally started?
To my acknowledgement, yes.
Has mom been arrested anymore that you know of?
Yeah, she was arrested in June of 23.
Okay. And was that in New Mexico also?
Yes, that was also in New Mexico.
Do we know an outcome or if those charges are still?
We do not have an outcome on that.
Okay. Has mom discussed that with you on what, if she has any court dates or if she has anything coming up?
No, she has not.
Now, are you asking the court today to terminate the parental rights of the mother based upon failure to work services?
That is correct.
D&E grounds of leaving the children in the possession of other people, not taking care of them?
That is correct.
And do you believe that that is in the best interest of the children at this time?
Yes.
Are you asking the court to terminate the parental rights of Jorge Bolanos, based upon, constructive abandonment based upon his testimony that he has not seen the children in, almost 8 years, or excuse me, almost 7 years? And also based upon, the grounds that his criminal activity has put him in jail, from prior to this case beginning to possibly 2 years past this case ending, or since the filing of this case?
Yes, sir.
Are you asking to terminate the parental rights of Saul Vallejo based upon failure to work services and constructive abandonment?
Yes, sir.
And are you asking the court to terminate the parental rights of Randall Candelaria based upon Q grounds of criminal activity in which he was in jail prior to this case and possibility of in jail 2 years from the filing of this case?
Yes, sir.
And constructive abandonment, there's been no visitations or reaching out on that.
Yes.
And do you believe that those are in the best interest of the children?
Yes, sir.
And based upon where are the children now?
They are placed with their uncle, aunt and uncle in Austin or in Kyle, Texas.
And how are they doing?
They're doing great.
Older children going to school?
Yes, they are.
Doing school?
Yes.
Okay. And Randall Jr. is how old now?
He's 2.
He's 2. And how is he doing?
He's doing good.
Is he on targets?
He is doing speech therapy and special intervention at this time, but he is doing good.
Okay. And you do believe, are they long-term motivated?
Yes.
And do you believe that staying with them is in the best interest of the children?
Yes.
And are you asking also, I don't know that we covered, but if he has not already been adjudicated, that Randall Candelaria be adjudicated based upon paternity testing?
Yes.
And both other fathers have been adjudicated, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
I'll pass the witness at this time, Your Honor.
Okay. Sure. Okay, Mr. Michelson, any questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Slagle, you're the author of the permanency report, correct?
Yes.
Okay. There are a couple of things that I just want clarification on. Under Section 5, the department appears to recommend continuance of the case until March 4th of this year. Am I misunderstanding the context of continuation?
I believe that is the dismissal date of this case.
Okay. And the last visitation documentation is about a month ago. Has Crystal had any visits since that period of time?
No, she has not.
Okay. And there was previous testimony that you made regarding visitation. Mr. Trout had asked you some questions, and you had testified that Crystal had 3 visits. I'm assuming that's October 2024, not 23.
No, that was October. October and November, she had 3 visits each month for October of 23 and November of 23.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you 3 visits out of how many visits potentially?
And I believe in November it was 5 visits, and in October it was 4 visits.
Okay. And in your opinion, is there any legitimate reasons why Crystal was unable to comply with the case plan?
She had stated that she could not get phone calls back, that it was hard to find people that would let her work services there, which I had told her at that time. She can do parenting classes online through Amarillo, that a lot of them would work with her via Zoom, and that if there was anybody that I needed to talk to in New Mexico to help her get some of those started, that I could also do that.
Okay. Has she made a good faith effort to comply?
No, she has not, sir.
Okay. And there was previous testimony that the children knew their caretakers well, and the department's position that they did not. How is that reconciled?
That's just what Crystal told me, that the kids knew them, and I did let her know at that time that the children stated that they didn't know them, but that's as far as the conversation went on that.
Okay. I just want to check my notes here. In regarding services, since she's residing in New Mexico, is she required to pay for those services?
Actually, if she was to get them, find somewhere that she could do those services and let me know, we can work with our data department or service authorization department and help get those services paid for. But parenting classes on the service plan are for the parents to pay for those.
Okay. And did she have the means to pay for those?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And did she ever seek assistance with you to get financial assistance to pay for services?
No, sir.
Okay. And regarding phone calls, New Mexico can have some pretty remote areas. Is that one of the reasons maybe why she didn't contact you?
I know sometimes she had stated that her phone would be lost or her phone would be dead and she had no way to charge it. That was the big reason, was that her phone was dead and she had no way to charge it.
Okay. And regarding stable housing, did Crystal have any support to establish housing?
I do know she had told me several times that she was working with churches or resources there for homeless people, but she never told me if they were ever able to help her do any of that.
And she never provided you with an address where she was staying?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know if she ever obtained employment in New Mexico?
When I visited with her in January, she stated that she had a facility that was helping her make a resume so she could send out for employment, and that's the last that I heard from her.
Okay. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I believe you've already indicated that you had no contact at all at any point in time with Mr. Vallejo.
That is correct.
I think you said you began working this case in April.
Yes.
So there was some gap in time prior to you taking over on the case after the investigation. Who was the caseworker before you?
I believe it was DJ Stacy, and he's no longer with St. Francis.
Are you familiar with the record before you took over?
Yes, sir.
Was there any indication of any contact with Mr. Vallejo after the investigation during his time with the case?
No, he was unable to locate him also.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Morales.
Thank you. Ms. Lego, when you met with Mr. Candelario back in August of last year, did he indicate to you that he was aware of who his attorney was?
No, at that time, I believe I had messaged Daniel to let him know that he was wanting a court-appointed attorney. So at that time, I was not aware of, he did not have an attorney at that time.
And you never had a chance to speak with him after I was appointed to represent him?
No, sir.
Okay. You said that your mail was returned. Did it have any identifying marks like unable to deliver or anything like that?
It was unable to deliver.
Okay. And was that mail certified or was it regular or both?
Just regular mail.
Okay. And you haven't received any correspondence from Mr. Candelario?
No, I've not received any phone calls since he called me in August.
And just to be clear, when you did send those letters, he was at the facility that he's currently at in New Mexico?
I believe he had switched some units sometime in between there, but all of their mail goes to one mailbox, and then it's dispersed out to them. So I'm not for sure if that has if that's a reason why his last service plan was returned to me.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
All right, and Mr. Noah.
Thank you, and may it please the court. Ms. Slagle, it's good to see you again.
Yes.
The last time I think I saw you, it might have not been the last time, but the last time on this case, and by the way, this case has a lot of moving parts. You understand that my client is Mr. Bolanos, correct?
Yes.
And that his daughter is Natalie. You understand that, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I think the last time you and I were able to visit was on December 21 of 2023, our last hearing. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember telling me at that hearing that Mr. Bolanos was the non-offending parent?
That is correct.
And do you remember telling me at that hearing that Mr. Bolanos has completed what he could while in prison?
I don't remember I don't remember that. I'm sorry.
I'm going to read from my notes, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Michelle Slagle said he has completed what he can in prison. Has he completed anything in prison?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did you send him any sort of services that he could complete in prison?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When did you send those?
Oh my goodness. Let me look. I had this up so I could answer.
Yes, ma'am.
He was sent a service plan for me in August and also one in June. I'm sorry, one in August and one in December of 23.
Were those sent to the prison?
Yes.
When you send that stuff, and this is kind of a Jerry question, I think, is it certified? How do you know that he got it?
Because I did receive the signed signature page back from him.
Excellent, excellent. Have you been out to meet with Mr. Bolanos at the prison?
No, we have tried to send a courtesy worker out there, and we were not allowed to go in and visit with him.
What does that mean?
I'm assuming the warden or however their rules are. I know we have some prisons where they do allow us to make appointments and go in, and some prisons they do not allow us to do that. And he unfortunately is at one that they do not allow us to go in and visit.
And that prison is run by the state of Texas, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
And the state of Texas wants to terminate Mr. Bolanos' rights to Natalie today, correct?
That is correct.
So the same state of Texas that wants to take away his rights is denying him access to you, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I think you said earlier that you filled out a Form I-60?
No, I'm sorry, sir. You misunderstood me. When I called them, they said that he could fill out an I-60 with the services or classes that he wants to take, and then they would let him know what he qualifies to take.
I have on my notes for some reason, and maybe I'm wrong, Michelle, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that last week you sent him something. Is that accurate? Or did I miss?
No, I did not send him anything last week.
When's the last time you attempted to reach out to Mr. Bolanos?
The last time would have been in December.
So a couple months ago?
Yeah, it would have been after our last hearing, sir.
And you were denied talking to him by the prison system, correct?
That is correct.
And I just want to make this perfectly clear. The state of Texas today wants to terminate his rights, correct?
That is correct.
And the state of Texas in December did not allow you to talk to him.
Objection, Your Honor. We're talking
Correct?
about two different departments in the state of Texas. We're talking about the Family Protective Services. We're not the ones keeping them in.
Yeah, I think just saying the state of Texas is pretty broad, Mr. Nowak.
Well, if I may reply, Judge? If not, tell me to shut up. Judge? Judge?
I think she may have froze.
Okay. Me too, by the way. I think we wait for the judge to come back, right, Daniel?
I would think so.
Okay. While we're waiting, you can tell me why I'm wrong.
No, I'll let the judge.
Amy said shut up. Amy said shut up.
Nobody's got CPS. The only way that they can come in and see you, like we have them, they call here all the time. They talk to inmates. Court order. Well, I'll bring you someone.
Ruling on your objection when I realized that I'd lost internet. So I don't know what you all heard or didn't hear.
The last I heard, Judge, was the state of Texas is, and then that's all I heard.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the question is overly broad, Mr. Nowak. I think if you ask about a certain department of the state of Texas, but let's narrow it down a bit.
Sure. I'm kind of looking at my notes where I was, and my notes are a mess. I kid you not. But I think I was asking Ms. Slagle questions. And I think that where I want to go with this question is that the state offers services to Mr. Bolanos, correct?
That is correct.
And on 12/21 of 23, you told me that he had completed what he could, correct?
Yeah. Objection, Judge asked and answered.
right, sustained, and she answered that she didn't remember.
When was the first time, Ms. Legel, you knew about today's hearing? And let me help you out. It was probably on 12/21 of 23 when the court sets the next hearing, correct?
That is correct.
Right. When's the first time you reached out to Mr. Bolanos about this hearing? Let me restate that, my question. When is the first time the state of Texas told Mr. Bolanos, reached out to Mr. Bolanos about this hearing? And I think the answer is, Michelle, you said that it was last week, correct?
Last week is when I visited with them about what services, but I do believe he was in our last hearing, and was able to hear when this hearing was today.
Who did you reach out to last week?
I had originally tried to reach out a couple of weeks ago to the law library and then to the education department. It's been hard trying to get a hold of them. I finally was able to get a hold of the education department because they are sometimes in the Lubbock unit. So it was hard trying to catch them.
So you'll agree with me where Mr. Bolanos is currently, it's difficult to get a hold of him, correct?
Yes.
Whether it be the law library or some other division of the prison, it's difficult to get a hold of them, correct?
That is correct.
Would you agree with me that he probably didn't have sufficient notice of today's hearing?
I do not agree with that since he was in the last hearing and knew the date.
Well, he was in the last hearing because I brought him in. You understand that, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
You know, he was an hour late today because the prison didn't get noted. They got noticed. They just didn't get him in quick today. You understand that, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir, I do.
Do you fault Mr. Bolanos in any way for the removal of Natalie?
No, sir.
Mr. Bolanos is a non-offending party, correct?
That is correct.
And it looks pretty bad. It looks like maybe his next parole hearing is next year. You understand that, correct?
That is correct.
Mr. Bolanos has done nothing to necessitate the removal or termination of his rights with his child, correct?
I do agree on the removal, but for the termination, he cannot provide stable care or employment or even be able to provide Natalie with his basic need or her basic needs until he is released from prison.
Gotcha. Do you agree with me that it's important that Mr. Bolanos get updates from the state of Texas when the state wants to take his child?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Will you agree with me that you have had difficulty working with the state of Texas, communicating with Mr. Bolanos?
Yeah, with the FPA or with the Texas Department of Corrections, yes, it has been difficult to be able to see him.
I'm going to make it real simple. It's difficult for you to talk to Mr. Bolanos, correct?
That is correct.
And that difficulty is because of the state of Texas, correct?
That is correct.
And you'll agree with me that when you're wanting to remove a child, when you want to terminate a parent-child relationship, that it is critical to talk to the parent, correct?
If we are able to, yes.
Well, no. It's critical that you talk to the parent when you want to terminate that parent's rights, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the state of Texas has made it difficult for you to communicate with Mr. Bolanos, correct?
Yes.
Pass the witness, Judge.
All right. Mr. Trout. Or Ms. Valdez. I keep forgetting you. I'm so sorry. Too many people.
The three kids are placed together, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Since July of this year with maternal uncle and aunt?
Yes.
Are they doing well?
Yes, they are.
We've talked some about missed visits from mom. How is it on the older girls when they're waiting for mom to appear and then she doesn't?
For Natalie, it's really hard. She gets really heartbroken. And Natalie gets upset, but not as bad as, Diamond gets upset, but not as bad as Natalie does.
Is it correct that Natalie's given up? She doesn't want to do that anymore, sit around and wait for mom to show up or not.
Yeah, it's really hard on her.
And with Diamond, is the only reason she wants to do visits at this point is to make sure her mom is still alive?
Yes, it is.
And she said those words, right?
Yes, she did.
Natalie was 2. Mr. Bolanos couldn't be placement for her then because he was incarcerated, correct?
That is correct.
When the removal came around, Mr. Bolanos couldn't be placement for her then she was 8 and he was still incarcerated.
That is correct.
At the final hearing, he can't be placement for her now because he's still incarcerated.
That is correct.
In January of 2025 is the first time we'll ever even find out if he could be released at some point.
That is correct.
And his max sentence date of 2033, Natalie will be 19 at that point.
That is correct.
Back when Natalie was 2, did Mr. Bolanos choose his actions that got him incarcerated?
Objection, speculation. Did he choose his actions? That's speculation.
Was Mr. Bolanos incarcerated due to his own actions?
Yes, ma'am.
So his actions have created a situation where he has to be out of his daughter's life from the time she's 2 until she's 19.
That is correct.
I pass the witness.
All right, now, Mr. Trout, my apologies.
You're fine, Your Honor. Ms. Lagle, you made as much contact as possible through this case. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And Mr. Bolanos knew of the case,
That is correct.
and he knew there were service plans,
That is correct.
and he was fully aware of what was going on.
That is correct.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Ms. Slagle?
May it please the court, just one quick follow-up.
Sure.
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Slagle,
Yes.
Mr. Trout just asked you if you had as much contact as possible with Mr. Bolanos. Do you remember that question?
Yes, sir.
And your answer was yes, I had as much contact as possible. You remember that answer, correct?
Yes.
And will you agree with me, like you did earlier, that your contact with Mr. Bolanos has been limited by the state of Texas, correct?
That is correct.
Ask the witness, Judge.
All right, anybody else have any questions?
No questions from Ms. Lagle, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
No questions.
No question.
No question.
Okay. All right, then. Mr. Trout, you have any further witnesses today?
I have one more, Your Honor, Javier Rodriguez. Okay. And are you currently placement for them?
Yes.
And how are the children doing?
They're doing good. They're thriving. We have a lot of support here for them, and they're in a good spot.
Are they going to any sort of counseling or therapies, or are y'all getting those set up? Where do we stand on those things?
Yeah, so far we've got them counseling set up. We also have which is weekly. We do tutoring for them as well. Like Michelle stated, we have junior in speech and behavioral therapy. And 2 weeks we got him for a mental evaluation. So they're staying busy. We have them in choir as well, after school programs, tutoring, weekly music lessons. So they're doing good here.
Okay. Are the 2 older children doing well in school?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
A's, B's, C's, grades.
Okay. Were they behind or playing catch up, or are they done well the whole time?
They were behind. Yeah, that's what the whole tutoring is for after school. So I know they were missing a lot of school before they came here, so a lot of it's just catching up with math and reading. So they are a little behind, but they are taking the classes that they need to get back on track.
Okay. And is it your wishes that if it becomes available that they can be adopted for you to adopt?
Yes.
And so your plan is to be long-term placement for all 3 children if you're able to?
Yes, sir.
And you're able to provide a safe and loving home and provide them with all necessities they need?
Yes, correct.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Michelson?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Taylor?
No questions.
All right, and Mr. Morales?
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Novak?
Thank you so much, Judge. Mr. Rodriguez, just a quick question. I might have missed this. What is your relationship to Mr. Bolanos?
Mr. Bolano's no relationship at all.
Nothing negative to say about him, correct?
No, nothing negative.
Thank you so much, sir. That's all I got, Judge.
Okay, and Ms. Isabella?
Mr. Rodriguez, have y'all already started whatever you could in terms of the process to get licensed to adopt?
Yes, we have. We've sent in, they told us we'd have to wait till this is finalized, but we've sent in paperwork for, the house evaluation. Fingerprints, we've done those already for here, the people that do reside in the house. And a couple other things within the house that we just need to make sure everything's up to par with.
I pass with this.
All right. Anybody have any further questions for Mr. Rodriguez?
Two quick questions. Mr. Rodriguez, you stated that they are your nieces and nephew, correct?
Correct.
You are Crystal Rodriguez, the mother's brother.
Yes,
Okay.
Sam.
And outside of visitations, do you ever hear from the mother?
I don't.
Okay. Does she keep up with some other family members though?
She does. So we have another sister and brother. She does reach out to the sister Rebecca pretty daily. And then my dad also talks to her probably maybe once, twice a week.
But you never hear from her?
I don't.
Outside of visits, she doesn't call to check up on the children?
No, she doesn't. And she has my number and everything, so never wants to reach out.
Thank you, sir. I'll pass with the sheriff.
All right, anybody have any other questions?
No, yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, and thank you for taking such good care of the kiddos. We really appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Trout, anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor. We'd rest.
All right, and Mr. Michelson?
No witnesses, we rest.
Okay, Mr. Taylor?
No witnesses, Your Honor. I do wish to take into the record that I repeatedly attempted to contact Mr. Vallejo throughout the course of this case. I did have contact with him initially upon being appointed, and subsequent to that contact, he failed to respond to my attempts to reach him by phone, and my mail attempts were returned, similar to Ms. Slagel's. I continued to attempt to reach out by phone and by email, and those attempts were not responded to until Friday of last week, when he did answer the telephone call, much to my surprise. And he was evasive. He would not give me an address, said that he would call me back with an email to which I could provide him the link for the hearing today. He never did call me back. He did give me an email that turned out to not be a correct email. The old email address that I had for him continued to receive, and so I did send the link to it. He did not appear. Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing further.
All right, thank you.
And I rest.
Okay, Ms. Morales?
Your Honor, my biggest concern with Mr. Candelaria is that I have no witnesses, but I do have concern on whether or not he's getting noticed. I've sent him several letters. Some of them are returned and some of them are not returned, but I do have a few that were returned as well. And mine likewise say return to sender no. I don't understand why. And with that being said, I don't believe that he's was properly notified of today's hearing. I think he might have been notified of the proceedings, because I do have other letters that were not returned. I have not received any correspondence from him, but again, Your Honor, I can't attest to whether or not he's received anything, and why the New Mexico Department of Corrections is not ensuring that he's receiving correspondence from his attorney, which I would figure is a priority, but I'm getting those sent back, some of those sent back as well, Your Honor. So that's my concern.
And do you rest, Mr. Morales?
I'd rest, yeah.
All right, Mr. Novak?
Thank you, Judge, and may it please the court, I will call Mr. Bolanos. Mr. Bolanos, were you in prison when Natalie was removed from the mom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The caseworker, Ms. Flagel, says she's been trying to get a hold of you. Have you talked to her?
I have not had one word with her until today. I did not know how she looked like until today.
I need you to talk slower because I'm an old man and you kind of have a little bit of an accent.
Today,
So say that again, sir.
Today was the first time I actually got to see who she is, other than seeing the name. And actually, by talking to her on the phone, I've never once conversated with her on the phone.
Okay. So the first time you saw her was on today's Zoom hearing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If Ms. Flagel had called you, if anyone from the state of Texas had called you to talk about Natalie, would you have accepted the call?
Yes, sir. And the law library is here right now, and they have access to get a hold of us anytime.
The state of Texas knows that where you are, correct?
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, but they know where you are.
Yes, sir.
They know how to get a hold of you.
Yes, sir.
I know that you just had a recent parole denied, and you've got one coming up here in about 12 months.
Yes.
Or 10 months. Are you willing to work whatever services you can while you're in prison?
Yes, sir. I'm willing to work on any kind of services. And as a matter of fact, I signed up for parenting. There's not too many available classes that we could take here, but whatever we have, I've already signed up for it, which is parenting. And like I said, there's other things that I've done in the past with the girls when she was able to bring them to me in 2017 before she stopped coming, which was Day with Dads. And that was a big event that they have in TDC where your kids could come and actually see you and spend time with you and watch movies with you.
Gotcha. So you've done what you could do in TDJC.
I've done everything, and I'm willing to continue.
And have you done that on your own, or did CPS help you with that?
No, I've done that on my own because it's part of my rehabilitation, and it's part of me showing TDC and the state of Texas that I'm changing.
Okay. I want to make this perfectly clear. Has anyone from the Department of Family and Protective Services contacted you about a family plan?
I was sent mail. I filled out everything that they wanted me. They wanted some signatures and abbreviations, and I filled them out and I sent them back to them. So yes, they have access to send us mail, but due to the fact that now we have tablets, they have one address in Dallas, Texas, where the mail is supposed to go, and it gets sent to our tablets.
So you got some mail from CPS.
Yes.
You sent it back. You filled it out and sent it back, correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you heard anything since then?
I have not heard nothing yet, as far as just what you told me about the court dates.
Other than me telling you when the court dates are, have you heard anything from CPS?
No, sir.
But you did respond to their mail telling them that I'll do whatever is necessary to keep Natalie.
Yes, they sent me paperwork to fill out, and I filled out and I complied with anything that they sent me.
And you didn't hear anything back, correct?
No, sir.
Other than from me?
Other than from you.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right. Let me just ask you for Mr. Bolanos.
I'm sorry, Judge, you cut out. I can't hear what you said.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Bolanos?
I have a question, John.
Okay, go right ahead.
Mr. Bolanos, you were personally served with the citation on this case in March of 23. Is that correct?
March of 23. A citation as in?
As notice of this suit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So since last March, you've known about this case?
I got a pamphlet in the mail explaining to me the whole history of everything, of what's going on.
Okay. And you've tried to work some services, or that you could while you were in jail?
Well, I've already signed, but before all this happened, it's already there that I had to do it, no matter what.
Okay. But you tried to work what you could while you were in prison?
Yes, I've done some classes, and yes, I have.
Okay. So you were aware there were classes you had to take?
Yes.
Okay. And you did what you could while you were there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, you're in prison for choices that you made?
Yes, sir. I made my bad decisions, yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Mr. Balanos?
No, Judge.
No, Your Honor.
No, yeah.
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right. All right, Mr. Nowak, any further witnesses to call?
Rest and close, Judge.
All right, Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, no witnesses. I rest and close.
All right, and Ms. Zavala, do you have a recommendation to make today?
I do, Your Honor. First,
let me interrupt you real quick. I'm sorry. Everybody else close?
Close.
Your Honor, the only thing we didn't discuss, and I would just say, is that all parents were personally served in this case. But outside of that, I would rest and close.
Close.
All right, Ms. Zavala, then, court will take your recommendation.
Your Honor, I've met with the girls multiple times. Randall as well. He just can't talk with me much. But both in person and by Zoom once they were moved. They are thriving where they are, and I believe it is in their best interest for the parental rights for all parents to be terminated at this time. For them to be allowed to remain in the placement that they are with all the siblings together with family, and move towards adoption so that they can have the stability that they haven't had previously.
All right, thank you. All right, then at this time, I find by clear and convincing evidence that it is in the best interest of all three children to terminate the parental rights between the children and their mother, Crystal Rodriguez, based on Texas Family Code 161.001, subsection B1, the D, E, N, and O grounds, and the best interest of the children under 161.001 B2. I also find by clear and convincing evidence it's in the best interest of the child to terminate the parental rights between Diamond and her father, Saul Vallejo, based on Texas Family Code section 161.001, subsection B1, the N and the O grounds, and the best interest under Texas Family Code 161.001 B2. At this time, I will adjudicate Randall Candelaria as the father of Randall, a relationship between the two of them based on the genetic testing that was done in this case and that has been filed with court. I find by clear and convincing evidence that it's in the best interest of the child, the parental rights between the father, Randall, and the child, based on Texas Family Code 161.001, subsection B1, the E, and the Q grounds, and also under Texas Family Code 161.001, subsection B2, the best interest of the child. I find by clear and convincing evidence it's in the best interest of the child, Natalie, to terminate the parental rights between Natalie and her father, George Bolanos, based on Texas Family Code 161.001, subsection B1, the E and the Q grounds, and Texas Family Code section 161.001, subsection B2, the best interest of the child. At this time, I will name the Department of Family and Protective Services as the permanent managing conservator of all of the children, and I will continue the children's current placement with Mr. Rodriguez, and I will order that there be no change in that placement unless there is an agreement or there is an order of the court. At this time, I'll dismiss all court-appointed attorneys from the case after the appropriate de novo and appellate timeframes expire. Counsel, as always, be mindful that your de novo timeframe does begin to run since I've rendered an open court. And also, do not file a notice of appeal if you're instructed to do so until a final order has been signed and adopted by the referring court. Mr. Bolanos, since you're present with me today, I know this is difficult, but I just can't keep these children waiting forever. They deserve to have a permanent home. They deserve to have each other. You know, they deserve the stability that they've been given by Mr. Rodriguez. And, you know, I wish you the best of luck, and that'll be up to Mr. Rodriguez at some point in time. But when you're released, if you come out and you try to live a good life and you do the right things, I can't speak for Mr. Rodriguez, but I often find that family is willing to cooperate with parents as long as parents are doing what they need to be doing. So although you will legally have no further responsibility for Natalie, I hope that on your release you will make some really good choices and some right decisions, and who knows where that will lead. So I wish you the very best, and thank you all very much for your patience today. Thanks everybody for your patience in getting Mr. Bolanos logged in. Certainly not Mr. Novak's fault nor Mr. Bolanos' fault, but I appreciate everybody's being patient with us. All right, I thank you all very much. Everyone is free to go except for those of you that are involved in my 2 o'clock hearing, which we will take probably maybe a few minutes late, but give everybody a little bit of a break because I know some of you are still going to be with me. So,
Judge,
okay.
thank you so much. And I just want Mr. Bolanos to know I'm going to send a form to the jail. You and I can talk again.
Yes, okay. Thank you, sir.
And Judge, thank you so much. And with your
Thank you.
permission, Judge, I'm going to leave the courtroom.
Everybody's free to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.